Well, hello there. It's me, Civilla Morgan, founder and host of the Childless Not by Choice podcast. Wow, y'all, this is episode 180. This is the final episode of the Childless Not by Choice podcast. And just a little bit about how the sausage is made. I'm literally recording this episode before I even record episode 179. I am literally still working on episode 179. It's a heavy episode. It's a subject matter that's caused division over the years, over the country, over the world. And no, it's not about I was going to say it's not about politics, but I guess it could be. Anyway, I'm still working on episode 179, but I decided to go ahead and record episode 180. Obviously, since I'm recording on New Year's Eve, these episodes are going to come out in the new year. And I had already said the final episodes would be December of 2025, but we could make all the plans we want, can't we? Life does other things. And so I'm not even going to beat myself up or just to try to fight anything. You can't fight time anyway, right? It's 6 p.m. on the 31st of December of 2025. And I still have to get these episodes to my podcast producer. So yeah, it's not going to happen for December, right? But it will happen. You will get to hear the last and the final 2 episodes of the Childless Not by Choice podcast. As soon as I can get them to the podcast producer and then get them back from him, I will air them for your listening pleasure. Before I continue, I want to thank everyone who has given to the podcast over the years, financially, words of encouragement, all the things, sharing episodes, leaving comments and ratings and reviews in Apple, all of the things. Thank you. Thank you for doing that. I also want to definitely thank my podcast producer, Rob. He is available if you need a podcast producer or if you just want to discuss. Well, I don't want to speak for Rob with that. I'll just say that he did tell me he is available for producing podcasts and he can get you with audio and video. So please be sure to reach out. I will give you his information if you're interested. I just want to really thank Rob for all the work he's done over the last number of years in making me sound good on this podcast, the Childless Not by Choice podcast, as well as the Not Just Another Religion and Politics podcast. He did all of the episodes for that podcast. He came in the last 5 years of this podcast because the Childless Not by Choice podcast is 10 years old. So thank you, Rob. I really appreciate all the work you've done to make me really sound professional. All the edits you've done, because without editing, I don't think I'd have lasted this long in the podcasting world because I don't have the patience. I just don't. And so that's one of the things that we have to do and that we kind of figure out as we get older, isn't it? We know what our strengths and weaknesses are and we go along with it. And it makes life a little bit easier when you know what you can and cannot do. Editing is not my thing. And so I'm thankful for anyone who does editing for any podcast. You are awesome. But I want to be specifically and especially thankful to Rob for all the work he has done. I'm truly grateful for that. I also want to thank the gentleman who manages my websites, CivillaMorgan.com, as well as the childlessnotbychoice.net website. It's truly been a load off my shoulders not to have to worry about what's going on in the back end and people trying to get into my site from the back end and cause mayhem. I cannot. I mean, if I had to, I would, I guess, but I'm just glad I don't have to. There are people that do these things and, I'm just thankful. So I'm thankful for the help I've received over the years. My previous podcast producers, thank you all. You produced some of my episodes and it's appreciated. And this podcast wouldn't exist without especially my very first podcast producer and another friend. Both of them are from Scotland, by the way. They're both Scottish men who we bumped into each other on a platform called Blab. Some of you may remember Blab. I loved that platform because it was made up of rooms, and the creator of whatever room that was created, they would put the name of the room, and when you went into the site, you would choose that room's title was of interest to you, and you'd go into that room and hang out. And I found this particular room, I couldn't tell you the name of it, but it was a room where there was an American gentleman who lives in Denmark. And I was like, how cool is that? An American from Denmark. And, I'm on Blab talking to him. So I hung out in his room a lot. And then also hanging out in his room were these 2 Scottish gentlemen. And when they heard about my platform and the fact that I wanted to start this podcast and, clueless as I was, I knew that that was my subject matter and I was passionate about it. They helped me set up. You see the colors on my podcast, on my platform, the purples and the lavenders. They did all of that, y'all. They did that. Mind you, Scotland is like 5 hours ahead, sometimes 6, and we would just stay up all night into their night and just put the colors together, put the website together. And then one of these two gentlemen would edit my podcast for a number of years before he decided to do other things. And it's been an amazing ride, you guys. It's been amazing. The way things got started, how they continued, the ups and downs, the issues with certain recordings, re-recordings having to be done. Ah, wow. What a ride. What a ride. 10 years is nothing to sneeze at, let me tell you. 10 years is a long time. Maybe in some instances not so long, but I'm telling you, in the world of podcasting, 10 years is a long time. And to have the kind of help that came along, it's just been amazing. It's been a God thing as far as I'm concerned. I'm so thankful. And yes, I know that it sounds like I'm sad about it ending, and I am. Of course, I am sad about ending the podcast, but I stand by my decision. I think it's the right thing to do. I think it's time to move on. I don't know exactly what I'm moving on to because, why would I know? Because life would just make me pivot or just, do other things anyway. It's always great to have a plan, of course, but, at this point in my life, let me just tell you, I'm on a road that I did not plan, as we clearly talk about on the podcast. I had no idea that I would never marry or never have kids. That was not my intention. And most of you listening who are childless not by choice, that was not your intention either, I know. We've had many a discussion over the years on the podcast and on private chats and in our Childless Not by Choice Facebook group with Civilla Morgan, that group. We've had all the discussions. I've been interviewed by other podcasters, some in the same genre, some not. And so, it's been talked about ad nauseum, okay? So I did not know this is where I would be. I didn't know. So yeah, I can say, well, I'm moving on to this or I'm moving on to that. All I can tell you right now is it's time to close down this podcast. And I know that there are a lot of you out there who are sad that it sounds like my voice is going away from the space. I don't know. I've been advised even by my own podcast producer that maybe I can pick up my microphone again and talk about an entirely different subject matter because otherwise my voice would be missed. And I understand, but I am not in a place right now to even entertain that. I can't. I'm in a space right now where I'm trying to figure my life out. And at this late stage of the game, it's really crazy that my life is not figured out. But yeah, it's been a lot. There's been a lot going on in my real life. Some of it I did not see coming. It was not planned, and now I'm just trying to figure things out. Wow. When you make all these plans, like I had all these plans at the beginning of the year, had all these plans. Well, I would say mid last year, I had all of these plans and I'm like, okay, let's do this and do that and that because now my caregiving days are over. And I know I talk about the caregiving days a lot because it was a big part of my life. It was almost 10 years of my life. And when you're caregiving, you're not really caring for yourself the way you should. So once my dad passed, and that meant both my parents were now gone, then I had to take care of things for me, medically, because, and I've heard that this is a thing. It wasn't just me. Then you realize, wait, whoa, this is happening to me and that's happening. And oh my gosh, I got to go get this taken care of. But you weren't really paying attention because you were paying attention to the people you were caring for. As some of you know, I was caring for both parents at the same time. I use the word battling because sometimes that's what it was, battling with the medical community. In other words, advocating, advocating for my parents to get proper care. And I can see little places now when I look back that they weren't getting proper care. And I just can't even imagine how they would have been treated if I wasn't around to advocate for them. And a lot of times, I thought about other people who had no one to take care of them, to advocate for them. People who were hard of hearing or maybe blind, and then they had their family just just left them. I just listened to a devotional the other day, and I'm like, I don't know what's happening to me, but I'm doing a lot of crying, which I will talk about in just a minute. But I was listening to this devotional, one of my morning devotionals that I listen to every morning. But on this particular day, the storyline was that this elderly gentleman was traumatized because his daughter told him that she was taking him to a really nice hotel, and instead she took him to a nursing home, left him on the curb, and drove off without ever looking back, and he never saw her again. It broke my heart. And I know that this happens. It happens. Unfortunately, it probably happens a lot. And knowing me, wanting to do research, I can just hop on my computer and see what the percentages of people elderly that this happens to. I'm like, it's unbelievable to me. Unbelievable, but it does happen. And as I took care of my parents, I was like, how would they have navigated this? I mean, there was a point, I don't think I ever discussed this on the podcast. I'm just telling y'all all my business now, but there was a point a couple of years ago where I ended up in the hospital. I went to the emergency care with a stomach ache, and I ended up in the hospital. They're like, ma'am, you have to stay. I'm like, but no, I have to go take care of my dad. They're like, ma'am, you have to find somebody else to go take care of your dad. You cannot leave. They would not let me leave. And they were even looking at possible surgery. I was like, no, surgery? No, it can't be that serious. I have to go take care of my dad. They're like, ma'am, you cannot leave. We strongly suggest that you do not leave. And they literally transported me by ambulance from the emergency center where I was to the actual hospital. And I was there for 3 days. And I guess I'm not even afraid to tell you why, because it does pertain to the subject matter of this podcast. It was scar tissue from all of the surgeries I had previously had trying to buy time. It was scar tissue, and I didn't have to end up having surgery, but they told me I had to watch what I ate. I had to be careful not to eat like popcorn. And some of you have offered me popcorn and I've said no thanks. That's why. Anything with seeds. I've been fortunate that sometimes I have had I don't eat strawberries anymore. I have had some things with seeds, but I'm just very careful. You have to chew properly, and it's been crazy. But the reason I'm even bringing that up now is while I was in the hospital, the nursing home where my dad had been taken to once he was released from the hospital, they should not have been open. I bet you they're still open now, but they should never have even been on the list of places to take your elderly family member to once they're released from a hospital. And that's a big beef that I have with hospitals. I'm not going to go into any further detail, but he was never supposed to be there. I didn't know any better, but I had him released there. I couldn't get the doctor to call me back from that nursing home. You know, there were things going on with my dad I needed to talk to him. I couldn't get him to call me back. And I'm there in the hospital, in my hospital bed. I had just hung up from my youngest sister, who lived an hour and a half, 2 hours away. The nursing home called me and told me that they were transporting my dad to the hospital. I was like, what? What are you talking about? Well, bring him to where I am. No, that's not the hospital we were taking him to. I'm like, why not? And of course, I'm going back and forth with them, and they're like, that's not the hospital that they use. Anyway, so I had to hurry and call my sister back and ask her to please drive up here to be with my dad, because my dad was at that point hard of hearing, and I did not want them to mistreat my dad in the emergency room. Imagine people who don't have that kind of advocacy. She literally hopped in her car and drove the 2 hours, and she was by my dad's bedside in no time. And so I'm just thankful. I'm thankful that that's the family dynamics that we had. I'm thankful she was able to just do that. I'm thankful that didn't add to my worry as I tried to recuperate. But for those of you who are caregivers or you know caregivers, please, if you can help a caregiver, please do it. Even if you can just give them a couple hours to go get a massage, to go to a movie with some friends, because that's the other thing with caregivers. We lose pretty much all of our friends because we don't have time. And they're like, why don't you have time? And they just don't get it, because unless you're actually doing it, you don't get it. And so a lot of caregivers that I know tend to end up having no one once their caregiving days are over. I've been fortunate. I have a circle of friends whom I actually met when my mom passed. I had more of a connection with them. And, they surrounded me and just covered me, and we're still friends. I mean, it's been since just before COVID, right? 2019. COVID started in 2020. So I've been fortunate, and I know this, and I'm thankful. I found a caregiver group that helped me to maintain my sanity, because now I was hearing and reading from people who were going through the same things I was. And I know that was a lot just now that I told you, but look, there's a point to all of this. When you are childless not by choice, you can tend to be the one that ends up caring for the parents. I know that narrative as well. I will say it was an honor to care for my parents. It was truly an honor. I'm glad I got to do it. It did divert my plans. Remember I was talking about plans earlier? My plan after I got my master's was to head up to a certain school in North Florida to go get my PharmD, is what it's called. It's a doctorate of pharmacy. And I was going to get my PharmD and go become a pharmacist. And it didn't happen. So my life got diverted once again. And so, I'm hoping that all of this is helping someone. I'm hoping that somebody listening, this is helping. But the point, I guess, I really want to make with everything I've just said and all the things I've said the last 10 years is these things are strengtheners. Life is a strengthener. The saying, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. I mean, I don't know who said it, but I think it's true because it's been a lot. But I'm not the only one that's gone through a lot. We all have been through a lot of different things in different times. At different times, we will go through things. That's why I think, especially as we get older, I've come to the knowledge, the knowledge that some things are just not that serious. And some things will just fix themselves, and other things you may have to end up fixing yourself. But I think that's where kind but firm boundaries come in. And you all have heard me talk about that over and over and over, creating kind but firm boundaries in every portion of your life, whether it's work or home or school or family. If you have a spouse, I believe in boundaries. And I think boundaries are what have kept my sanity, because until I realized what boundaries were and understood how they worked, I was running myself into the ground. And so now that I totally understand boundaries? Do we ever totally understand boundaries? I don't know, maybe. But I think I understand boundaries enough. And I hope that I've said it enough on this podcast that you understand boundaries, that you know that they will save your sanity and your health and all of those things. And some of you may say, well, what boundaries did you have if you were caring for your parents? And I understand the question, but I'm still saying it was an honor to care for them. Was it easy? There was no part of it that was easy. No part of it. I had so many alarms on my phone, it wasn't funny. I had alarms for medications, alarms for appointments, alarms for checking in on them. There were times when I had to come home from work if they weren't answering the phone, only to find that they were just fine. Setting up things, putting things into place to help save my sanity. And at the time, we lived in a place where we had fantastic neighbors. I think about them every day. When my parents, as they get older, they can do things like locking themselves out of the house. A neighbor would have them come over, and I would ask one neighbor, I'd asked her to, on a couple of occasions, to just make my dad a sandwich so his blood sugar wouldn't drop. I mean, we had fabulous neighbors. And that's the thing about caregiving. It's got to be a community. If at all possible, try to see if it can be a community. Otherwise, it becomes very lonely and very scary and just all the things. So yeah, that was a long little thing there, but I hope it made sense. I just wanted to let you know that, as a childless not by choice person, maybe you're caregiving, maybe you're not. Maybe you're trying to figure out the rest of your life. What are you going to do with the rest of your life, especially as you get older? That's the conversation right now as we get older. How do we navigate being alone, navigate the possibility of loneliness, navigate the possibility of caring for parents? All the things. Life is it's hard. Let me just be honest. Life is hard, but that's why we take the opportunity, as I always say on the podcast, to go find your happy place. As many of you know, my happy place is the beach. And I got to go there on the last Tuesday of the year, 2025. It was cold, For us here in Florida, the 30s and 40s are cold. One of my sisters in our sibling chat posted a screenshot of the temperature where she lives, and it was 28 degrees. So I was like, yeah, I think I'll take 41 degrees over 28 any day. It's just a matter of just learning yourself, learning who you are, navigating, and doing the best with the life you've been given. That's another thing I've been saying all along. Just doing the best with the life that we've been given. That means for me, going to the beach, maybe taking a trip once in a while. I look back on my years on this planet, because Facebook brings up these little memories, and Facebook brought up a memory today of a picture of me standing up on a Mayan temple looking across the way at another Mayan temple in Belize, Central America. It's the Altunha temple for anyone that's curious. And I've been there twice. I've been to Belize a half a dozen times, but to the Altunha temple a couple of times. And so I've had the opportunity to travel. My brother took us. It was our last trip together, me and my brother and our parents. We went to Switzerland for about a week, and that was nice. It was nice to go up into the mountains, my brother and I, because my parents wouldn't have been able to make it up there. But, we had a nice time. I've been to Europe, Canada was when I was a kid in camp. Living in Massachusetts, you're not that far from Canada. Chicago. I've been many places in Florida, France, you name it. I can't complain when it comes to traveling. And I bring that up because I say that if you're able to, even if it's someplace in your state that you can go for a couple of days, just do it. Just go and just enjoy yourself, because whether you get to have children or not, life is short. That's the bottom line. No matter what our life situation is, one thing for sure, for all of us, life is short. And before you know it, your parents are old or elderly, or they're gone. You're starting to age, and it's just life changes, it pivots, it turns, and you find yourself in grief mode, which I've been the last few days. I mentioned crying earlier. I'm like, what is happening? And I've fortunately got the time to take a few days off from work. I'm thankful for that time off, but I found myself cleaning and running errands, trying to get stuff done for the end of the year, just cleaning my place and washing and laundry. And I have more laundry to do after I'm done here, and crying. Yeah. Just missing my parents and just seeing how the holidays kind of just elevates, whatever you want to call it. The fact that there are certain people that are just not here anymore. So I've had to deal with that, and just dealing with, grief. It's grief. I know, at least in part for me, it's grief. There are other things going on which I will not discuss here, but I know a big part of it is grief. And I'm fortunate to be able to tell my friends, my close friends, what's going on with me, and know that they're praying for me. And same with my siblings, talk to my siblings and know that they're praying for me. And I know we all grieve differently, so I know that they're grieving in their own way. But as primary caregiver for our parents, I was up close and personal. And yeah, it was interesting. So whatever you're grieving for right now, if you're grieving the loss of the ability to have a child, maybe you're grieving miscarriages, maybe you are grieving the loss of a family member. I know some of you who've lost your parents recently as well. I know the loss of a spouse. I know all about the different stories. I get it. And all I can tell you is grieve for as long as you need to. If you want to go to therapy, go to therapy. That helps. There is a program, and they're not paying me to say this, and I didn't think I was going to mention it, but there's a program that's usually held at most churches. It's called Grief Share, and so that's something to check out as well. It's in a group setting. Some people don't want to grieve and cry in a group setting. I get it, but I've been to Grief Share. I went when my mom passed, and I went when my dad passed. And then therapy, one-to-one therapy is helpful. So just do what you have to do to keep your mind straight and right, and keep your heart pliable and soft, and just don't sweat the small stuff. That's a big thing I've learned, dealing with people. Don't sweat the small stuff. Just make sure that you're good. Make sure that you're good. It's okay to be a little bit selfish. Make sure that you're good. So anyway, I've said a lot, I guess because it's the last time I'm going to be saying anything on this podcast officially. And I just want you to know that I appreciate every single one of you who've listened from around the world. Thank you so much. Thanks for listening to this episode. I hope I didn't bore you too much. Just thank you so much. I mean, what can I say after 10 years? Just, if you pray to the God of the book, pray for me. I'll pray for you. Just hang in there and reach out to me in the Childless Not by Choice with Civilla Morgan Facebook group. Continue to follow me at Joy and Relevance on Instagram. You can find the podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Pandora Music, or any podcast player app that's out there. And then when I'm ready to shut the podcast down completely, I will definitely let you know before I do it. Okay? Thanks for tuning in. And I won't say until next time, but I'll say goodbye.